thank you so much for volunteering with us. I wanted to go through this kind of wonky document because you're going to see it a lot as you work with us. So this is called a CGIS for short. It's basically the fingerprint record from the state of Maryland. This is the actual background check that employers will get or landlords will pull, and it's what we use to sort of filter down all the information out there on case search.
Okay.
So this will always start with this cover sheet, a bunch of useless information, but what you really want to look at is the name and make sure date of birth is correct. That way we know that this is our guy.
Okay.
After that, you're going to go to this next page. This will always start, it'll have a header, it'll say the person's name who the background check belongs to, and then it's going to go down basically in reverse chronological order. So you're going to have the most recent at the top, and you're going to have the oldest at the bottom. Almost all of them are going to have a disposition, hopefully, and it's going to say what happened. So it always starts off, subject was arrested, because it's a fingerprint record, which means that you generally have to be arrested or picked up on something. It's going to say when that happened. I'll let you know that this number is sometimes a day or so off of what you'll find in case search, but usually pretty close. It's going to tell you what jurisdiction it's in. So this one was John Smith, arrested on in May 1997 in Baltimore City. You know that because it's Baltimore City PD. And then it's going to have the real all-important tracking number. This is the number that syncs up the court and the arrest record at the state. This has to match the court number. Otherwise, one of them is wrong, and sometimes it might not get expunged at the end of the process.
Where do I get the court number from?
You're going to put this in order, and then when you look on case search in the same kind of order, you'll look and the tracking number will match.
Okay.
And also the charges will match, but that's it's a helpful tool. So next thing on here is the charges. There will be usually an abbreviated statement of what the charges are, broken down by each. So here there's three, because there's three dashes, and the charges are CDS, it says CDSPW discharge, which is short for CDS possession with distribution, and it's a narcotic. This will almost always be the same on case search, so this helps you narrow things down. After that, it'll have what happened with that case, the disposition. So here, this was placed on the stat docket. Stat docket, indefinite postponement. The important thing is it's expungable. So you make a note of that. However it's easiest for you. I usually just put eligible on the side because sometimes you don't want to be reading these small words over and over again. So then you go next down. Subject was also arrested on July 1996 by Baltimore City PD, so we know it's in Baltimore City, we know that he was arrested, and we know the date. You have a tracking number there, and it says the determination of null pros was made by the state's attorney. So now we know it's a null pros. All right. Also eligible. You just take a look at the charges, great, make a mark that it's eligible. Finally, you have subject also arrested on March 1995 by Baltimore City PD. Notice here the tracking number is a little different. Around 95, the courts in the state, the tracking numbers changed from these long numbers starting with 95 or 96 and became before that they were the actual case number at district court. Helpful in case you get something from like 1992 or 91 that might not be on case search later. But it is the tracking number, so that's what you'll put later on the petition if it's eligible.
So what happens if it's not on case search?
If it's not on case search, you do your best. Sometimes it's not on case search because there was a fat finger error at the court where there's a typo. So if you can, try to look on the date range of when that arrest happened, and something like, if for John Smith, it'd be like J. Smith. Sometimes you can't find it. So you do your best to find it. Sometimes there are events on the CGIS that aren't charges or aren't convictions. You'll know because there's no conviction there. And that's where you have to also look in case search and kind of line things up, which is why it's helpful to get them in the same chronological order.
What about archives? Can you do archives on these?
You could do archives using this. It'll give you some of the information. Oftentimes, if it's real old, like 1982, this is all the information you'll have. So you'll basically be giving the Maryland Archives, here's what I have, please find it. And the Maryland Archives will tell you whether or not you can find it, or whether or not they can find it. So here you have Baltimore City tracking number. This is a guilty. All right, so once you see guilty, you now know that it doesn't matter what the rest of that charge list is, generally, because now this is not eligible.
Okay.
If this is the end of the record, if there was stuff beforehand, you'd want to look for subsequent convictions and stuff like that.
Okay.
But this, I always do when I do these background checks, I always start with this and then go to case search, because case search will get you a lot more things that aren't relevant.
Okay.
So start with the narrow thing and then match it up on case search.
Well, why is it important to do this?
Couple reasons. One, it's faster if you start here and go to case search. You imagine someone named John Smith is going to have there's a lot of John Smiths, so you don't want to be clicking through 500 entries on case search. The other reason is that case search is not always accurate. A bunch of things can go wrong, typos made, sometimes the dispositions aren't there. About 1995, the records start getting a little iffy. And the third thing is the court says not to use it only for background checks. So there are some clients who just want an expungement real quick. If that's the case, talk to us, and we have a form they can use. But we generally always highly recommend this, especially common names like John Smith.
Okay.
Okay.